Welcome to this episode of the weekly News Roundup. The Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO, launched its heaviest communication satellite last Sunday. The satellite, CMS-03, is reportedly the heaviest ever launched from Indian soil into a geosynchronous transfer orbit, or the GTO. The spacecraft was launched aboard the LVM-3M5 rocket, also dubbed Bahubali, for its heavy lift capabilities. The LVM-3 is a three-stage launch vehicle with two solid motor strap-ons, a liquid propellant core stage, and a cryogenic stage. The vehicle grants ISRO self-reliance in launching heavier communication satellites weighing up to 4,000 kilograms in GTO. In its first launch in 3 months, the ISRO used its biggest rocket, LVM-3, to send the communication satellite CMS-03 to space. This is the first time that ISRO put a satellite weighing over 4,000 kgs in the distant geosynchronous transfer orbit from Indian soil. We bring you this report. ISRO Chairman V. Narayanan said the launch vehicle successfully injected the communication satellite into the required orbit. He recalled that the rocket's previous launch was the most prestigious Chandrayaan-3, which brought pride to the nation. He also added that the rocket achieved yet another pride after succeeding with the heaviest satellite. Dubbed as Bahubali for its heavy launch capabilities, the LVM-3M5 is a three-stage launch vehicle with two solid motor strap-ons, a liquid propellant core stage, and a cryogenic stage. All 8 LVM-3 launches, including its experimental mission, have been successful, achieving a 100% success rate. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded ISRO in an X post, saying, "Our space sector continues to make us proud. Powered by our space scientists, it is commendable how our space sector has become synonymous with excellence and innovation. Their successes have furthered national progress and empowered countless lives," he added. The LVM-3 is also referred to as the Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, the GSLV, Mk3 by ISRO scientists. The LVM-3M5 is the 5th operational flight, the space agency said. LVM-3, earlier referred to as Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle Mark III or GSLV Mark III, uses solid, liquid, as well as cryogenic fuel-based engines to put up to 8,000 kilograms in low Earth orbit, up to an altitude of 2,000 kilometers from Earth's surface, and up to 4,000 kilograms in geosynchronous orbit, which is about 36,000 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. So far, ISRO had to contract out the launch of its heavier satellites to private space agencies from other countries. The current launch is a milestone towards the growing capability of the LVM-3 rocket, a modified version of which will also be used under the Gaganyaan mission to put humans in space. Last month, the Vatican released Pope Leo XIV's first apostolic exhortation on love for those who are poor. The apostolic exhortation Dilexi Te on the Church's love for the poor is Pope Leo's first document. Dilexi Te means "I have loved you" and echoes the title of Pope Francis' last encyclical letter Dilexit Nos, which means "He loved us," on the devotion to the Sacred Heart. Just as Pope Francis completed the exhortation that was started by Pope Benedict XVI, Lumen Fidei, Pope Leo XIV now completes the work Pope Francis started before his death. With the release of his first major magisterial document a few months into his papacy, we read Pope Leo's developed thoughts on the Christian life for the first time. both in humble continuity with Pope Francis and with his own particular style and experience. Cardinal Czerny spoke to reporters saying, "No new pope starts with an empty desk and a clear agenda. We always receive from our predecessors and we always hand on to our followers." Signed on the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, the document imparts the lesson that St. Francis learnt personally and embodied, that a preferential love for the marginalized can renew both the Church and society. We bring you this report. This exhortation is all about God's love for the most vulnerable and marginalized people in our society, the poor. This is affirmed with many examples from the scriptures, the saints and religious orders, as well as in the development of Catholic social teaching in dialogue and engagement with the contemporary world. The document speaks of Jesus' identification with the hungry and marginalized, with workers and the rejected in the Gospels, about St. Francis and St. Clare, the shared life of monastic orders and the biblical promise of liberation from oppression. Canadian Cardinal Michael Czerny, prefect of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, presented the exhortation at a Vatican press conference. He said, "It is the magisterium of the Church." He added, saying that Pope Leo himself wrote that it was begun by Pope Francis. Asked what percentage was completed by Pope Francis before his death in April and what percentage Pope Leo added, Cardinal Czerny responded, "It is 100% Pope Francis and it is 100% Pope Leo." Given that some pundits have already claimed that Pope Leo speaks more about Jesus and less about politics than Pope Francis did, the Cardinal also was asked whether it is valid to say Pope Francis addressed poverty from a political point of view and Pope Leo in the exhortation is addressing it from a theological perspective. When talking about the Christian obligation to help the poor and decrying the injustice of the global market system, points repeated in Pope Leo's exhortation, Pope Francis was accused of being communist or Marxist. Cardinal Czerny was asked if the same would happen to Pope Leo. Pope Francis always thought that the attacks were a sign that he was actually doing something, he said, so it is not something to be worried about. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, prefect of the Dicastery for the Service of Charity and Papal Almoner under both Pope Francis and Pope Leo, said, "The popes are simply saying what the Gospel says, so we will have to accuse Jesus of being a communist or Marxist if that's what advocating for the poor is." Cardinal Krajewski said Pope Leo has asked him to keep doing what he was doing under Pope Francis, which is spending all day, every day, giving concrete assistance to the poor. We are Pope Leo's emergency room. We are the ambulance that is always ready to go to help the needy in his name, the Cardinal said. What did Jesus do all day? He went out early, we know this, and from morning to night, he looked for people who needed him, Cardinal Krajewski said. He did not set up an office saying, "Come to me then and I will help you." No, that did not exist. He went out looking for people, those who needed his help, the suffering, the unfortunate, the sick, the beaten, the marginalized, the refugees, and he healed them immediately, the same day. With this document, signed on October 4th, the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, Pope Leo situates himself firmly on the path laid out by his predecessors. It is evident, Pope Leo says, that all of us must let ourselves be evangelized by the poor. No Christian can regard the poor simply as a societal problem. They are part of our family. They are one of us. We move now to Afghanistan, where a powerful earthquake has again struck the country. A powerful 6.3 magnitude earthquake struck near Afghanistan's Mazar-e-Sharif, one of the country's largest cities with a population of about 5,23,000 in the early hours on Monday. According to the US Geological Survey, the depth of the earthquake was 28 kilometers near Mazar-e-Sharif. The USGS also warned of significant casualties and potentially widespread disaster. We bring you this report. The 6.3 magnitude earthquake that struck near the northern Afghan city of Mazar-e-Sharif has led to the death of at least 20 people, while 320 others have been injured, according to an Afghan province health department official. A spokesperson for the health department in Samangan near Mazar-e-Sharif said, a total of 320 people injured and 20 martyred have been reported and transferred to health centers. Afghanistan has been vulnerable to earthquakes as the country is located on two major active fault lines. In August, a 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck the country's mountainous eastern region, killing more than 2,000 people. The Samangan province reported at least 5 deaths and 143 injuries, while Balkh province recorded at least 6 deaths and over 70 injuries, though reports are still developing. The Blue Mosque in Mazar-e-Sharif, a pilgrimage site believed to house the tomb of Hazrat Ali, sustained visible damage with debris scattered across the ground, as shown in social media footage and confirmed by local officials. Though health teams and rescue operations were deployed to affected areas, the Ministry of Public Health ordered nearby hospitals to be fully prepared as medical facilities struggled to cope with the increasing number of injured people. The tremor was felt across multiple countries, including Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, while many residents in Mazar-e-Sharif ran into the streets, fearing building collapses. Some reported broken windows and damaged walls. This earthquake follows Afghanistan's deadliest recent seismic event in August, which killed over 2,000 people, highlighting the country's vulnerability due to its location along active fault lines where the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates meet. The Indian women's cricket team beat South Africa by 52 runs to win their first ever ICC Women's ODI World Cup in Navi Mumbai. Deepti Sharma and Shefali Verma starred with both bat and ball to help India secure a 10th win after South Africa had won the toss and elected to bowl. India held their nerve under the weight of immense expectation to beat South Africa by 52 runs and clinch their first ever Women's World Cup. The roar at Mumbai's D.Y. Patil Stadium said it all. History had finally caught up with promise. It's been a campaign of redemption and resilience. From 3 straight defeats in the group stage to a flawless knockout run, India's turnaround was as dramatic as it was defining. For a cricket-mad nation long waiting for its women to stand shoulder to shoulder with its men, this triumph felt epochal, the spark of a new era. President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have congratulated Team India on their remarkable victory in the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup 2025 final. We bring you this report. Chasing 299, South Africa looked well set at one stage to get to the target. But Deepti Sharma's breakthrough sparked a dramatic collapse. After she dismissed Annery Dirksen, the Proteas crumbled from 209 for 5 to 246 all out. Deepti Sharma had turned the tide for India with a brilliant spell that yielded 3 crucial wickets, including that of South Africa captain Laura Wolvaardt. Deepti bagged 5 wickets for 39 runs from 9.3 overs. The tournament success and India's championship win have tremendously boosted the visibility and growth potential of women's cricket nationwide and internationally. Shefali Verma created memories of a lifetime by scoring 87 in India's 298 for 7 and then grabbed a couple of crucial wickets to restrict the Proteas women to 246. Shefali was declared the player of the match, while Deepti Sharma won the Player of the Tournament award. As the Mumbai night sky lit up with post-Diwali fireworks, it was the women's turn to mark a sweet homecoming for the ICC World Cup trophy. 14 years ago, when Virat Kohli and a new generation of Indian cricketers carried Sachin Tendulkar around the Wankhede Stadium after winning the Men's World Cup, it reaffirmed the belief that India could in fact cross the finish line. On 2nd November 2025, a similar story unfolded. Jemima, Smriti and Harmanpreet couldn't wait to hand over the World Cup trophy to their predecessors Jhulan Goswami and Mithali Raj, as the crowd inside Navi Mumbai's D.Y. Patil Stadium stood up and applauded the legends who had laid the foundation for this very moment. Several batting milestones tumbled as the final reached its peak. Harmanpreet Kaur became the highest run scorer in Women's World Cup knockouts, tallying 311 runs across the semi-final and final. Laura Wolvaardt of South Africa finished as the tournament's top run-getter with 571 runs in 9 innings, breaking Alyssa Healy's 2022 record of 509 runs. Smriti Mandhana became India's highest run scorer in a single World Cup edition, amassing 434 runs, surpassing Mithali Raj's 409 from 2017. Richa Ghosh smashed the most sixes, 12, in the tournament, equaling the record of Deandra Doughton and Lizelle Lee. All-rounder Deepti Sharma delivered one of the greatest performances ever seen in a World Cup final. Her figures of 5 for 39 made her the first spinner in history to claim a 5-wicket haul in a women's one-day international World Cup final. She played a pivotal role in breaking South Africa's momentum and turning the game in India's favour. She was declared the player of the tournament for her contribution. And it was truly heartwarming. From an obscure village in Haryana to a sleepy suburb in northern Bengal, people were glued to their television sets to watch the Shefalis and the Richas realize their true potential. For years, this is what followers of women's cricket in India have dreamt of: acknowledgement and appreciation for the women's game, their struggles, their stories, and now their triumphs. The Vatican Jubilee concert titled Grace for the World took place in St. Peter's Square. The event was co-directed by Pharrell Williams and Andrea Bocelli and featured performances from artists like Karol G, John Legend and Jennifer Hudson to celebrate the 2025 Jubilee year. It marked the first time a concert was held in St. Peter's Square and was live-streamed globally. This landmark cultural and spiritual event in the heart of Vatican City was co-directed by Pharrell Williams and Andrea Bocelli. This once-in-a-generation concert was held in St. Peter's Square for the first time in history. Supported by the Vatican, the event marked the closing of the Third World Meeting on Human Fraternity and the celebration of the 2025 Jubilee year. Designed as a moment of global unity, the event brought together music, reflection, and visual storytelling in a singular live experience. The concert featured a world-class lineup of performers and speakers, including live musical performances by Pharrell Williams with the voices of Fire Gospel Choir, Maestro Andrea Bocelli, Karol G, John Legend, Teddy Swims, Jerry Roll, Angelique Kidjo. We leave you with this Andrea Bocelli song.